folks. We are live. So thank you so much for tuning in on a wonderful Wednesday evening, guys. I do appreciate you. So let's, of course, say hello to the wonderful people that are here in the chat before we get started. And look who it is, guys. It is going to be our guest for tomorrow evening here to support the guests for tonight. But I love it that they're actually showing up. So the wonderful Jillian Whitney will be here tomorrow evening. So that is going to be a fun interview to do. So she's here, of course. Yolanda, thank you for tuning in as well. Love that you guys are here. Who else? I got, again, our resident funny man, Mr. Dan Roth in the house. Appreciate you for stopping in, my friend. He will actually be, we're going to be doing a pre-recorded show. Time constraints, that sort of deal. But again, we're going to be doing it, but we're going to be airing it live. So that's going to be fun as well. So he might be able to actually interact and interchange with you guys in the chat. So if you want to tune in for that, that's going to be fun. We're going to be recording this weekend. But little disclosure, I got to tell you, just so you know, it is live and not live. So you get both in one first swoop. Okay. If you're checking us out for the first time, thank you for tuning in, guys. You can go follow us on our YouTube page at the Gay Blue Experience. If you're going over there at YouTube, do me a favor, please subscribe to our channel, like and hit the notification bell. It will let you know whenever we are live, whenever we schedule new lives, and whenever we drop new video content on the channel. Please help a brother out. I am trying to get over 1,000 subscribers so that we can customize our URL. So it's not some funky letters, numbers, everything else. Will be something nice and creative. So go over there. We're very close, 971 followers over there, subscribers, excuse me. So go check us out over there on YouTube, and you can go see all the lives that we've done so far. This is episode number 8, folks. We're going very quickly around this time. So check us out on our YouTube page. Thank you so much. And of course, our favorite platform, LinkedIn, where all these wonderful people are starting to show up here and league us here. Thank you so much. Of course, Miss Rena Friedman Watts, Mr. Brian Schulman is in the house. Thank you, wonderful folks, for being here. And this is going to be a fun episode. So, all right. I want to get started, number one, with our thing that we talked about yesterday, and Miss Jillian Whitney's already following along what we're going to do. So we are starting our joke initiative. So starting next week, we're going to take submissions for you to submit a joke of the day. We're going to bring it into the live stream, whether it is a written joke like she's doing here now, or you can record a joke and tell it yourself, or you can record an audio version of yourself telling a joke. We'll bring it into the stream. We will pick the best one every single day, Monday through Friday. Friday, we will do a poll on LinkedIn, and you guys will decide what is the best joke of the week, and the winner will get some merch from us. We're launching our merch store as of yesterday. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in and having a wonderful time. So guys, the gentleman that we're fixing to bring on, look, Mr. Roth, I'm going to put something here to you now. The show is called UnFiltered Live, and we actually had a conversation, me and our guest, prior to actually coming on, to something about these terms. So you do what you feel is the best, again, and if it's funny, we will find the humor in it, just as long as it's not as, I don't want it to be where it's belittling or, racist jokes. I think there is a line, but we don't want to cross that one. But yes, if you have a joke, tell a joke. We would love to bring it in and incorporate it as part of the show. All right, let's get started with this evening's guest, guys. He is a brand strategist here on LinkedIn, but he is also more than that. I've been following this guy for a while. He is a fellow resident in the Metroplex here, which is another great thing about him. That's always a high plus for me when I get to connect with other creators in this area. And then also, this guy has his ear to the ground of LinkedIn, and there's always great things that are happening here on the platform, and he has a way of actually getting them out there and, letting people know about new features, new things that are happening, things that are, again, news here on the platform. So if you're not connected already with tonight's guest, you need to. If you're not following his newsletter, I will drop it into the chat as well so you guys can connect there. But please help me welcome to the show our guest for the wonderful evening, the bearded branding one himself, Mr. Kevin D. Turner, folks. He's here. Let it permeate a little bit, folks. You don't have to go take out your cameras right now and take pictures. We'll have plenty of time with him. So, Kevin, my friend, how are you doing this evening?
Gabby, I'm doing fantastic, and I'm loving everything you're doing right now. It's exciting, and I was actually kind of dancing to the music. Luckily, you didn't take me on air at
Yeah.
that point. But yeah, I'm very excited to be here, and I love that we're talking about one of my passions, and that is LinkedIn, and not I wouldn't say exposing LinkedIn, but telling it as it is, right? Thinking about LinkedIn and the way it works as a database, as a company, not always as a social good site, but a business as well. And then how do we fit into that, and how do we make it work for us? So always excited to be there and to share that. And I'm just I'm amazed in everything you've done. I really enjoyed working with you in the beta of audio events,
Yes.
and how you took on kind of making that TV guide, shall we say, and it was critical because nobody else could find this stuff.
Yeah.
And the fact that you jumped in and made a solution, I thought that was incredible, and I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, we're going to actually, so breaking news, I'm working with a few other people to actually bring it back and a little bit more structure. And we want to add a little bit more content related around putting that together. So
Good. Yeah.
we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna see how much we can actually improve it, make the process a little bit easier for not just us as the builders of doing it and putting it out there, but also for the creators to kind of allow themselves to submit their shows and events and everything else. Now, LinkedIn has been doing a little bit of it, but I think there's still holes in how they're getting events out there to people. So I would love to see it a little bit more comprehensive. Um, in ways that people can use uh, discoverability aside from just pulling in a in the search and trying to find it, or looking in your events tab and it gives you just suggestions, but it doesn't give you everything. And that's the thing that I want to do, is just bring a more open database for creators to submit themselves so that we can
And we
build
and
that
we
back up.
lost that positioning
Yeah.
in the network tab where it used to be at the top, right?
Yes.
Now it's blended in with thousands of other live shows. So if you're trying to find audio, you have to pick one by one to figure out which one's audio and which one's live. And
Yes.
so the demand for what you were doing is back again. I'm glad to hear that you're
Yes.
jumping on it, because I know everybody appreciated it.
Yeah, so and I love that again. There's going to be more tools to help scale this out, because we're going to be using it as a company page as well as part from the newsletter. And now that you know that company pages can do newsletters,
Yeah.
and they're also being able to do audio events now, I believe.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
That's going to be fantastic, and another way to kind of expand and be able to develop it out a little bit more, so that creators and people who want to, again, get themselves out there, we give them the tools necessary to gain exposure, because that's how people find and discover great creators and great people who have content that they're looking for that will resonate with what they're actually doing here on the platform. So not everybody's coming here to look for live streaming. They're coming here to look for social selling. They're coming here to look for branding. They're coming here to look for, again, recruitment. So all those avenues, you want to be able to kind of give them their own alleyway to say, here you go, create, and we're going to give you the tools necessary to do it in a way that's going to be both beneficial for the creator and for the platform. So trying to definitely put that into place. So let me get started with questions, because I do have a question. This is the first question that I always have been asking a lot of LinkedIn creators. And it's always interesting to hear their take on it. So for me, it's like, how did you get started on LinkedIn? Why this platform? And, how has it helped sort of change your life? Because for a lot of people, it really has turned their lives around, coming here and doing something like this on this professional
Absolutely.
platform.
It's fascinating. I actually joined LinkedIn back in 2005, one of the first months of
Ooh.
that year, and have been very active ever since. And one of the things I got doing as kind of like a side thing is I would go to groups that had people in transition, you know, and it might be a church, it might be a school, it might be a community center. They would bring in 300, 400 people, and
Yeah.
I would teach them how to use LinkedIn. So, how do you build a profile? How do you get active? How do you digitally network
Yeah.
so that you get value, right? And begin that process. And so I would basically help them do that in seminars, and I did that for many years. And what I always thought was interesting is as soon as I was done, you thought, okay, great, you know, I can go back to work and do my job that they pay me for. And then you'd get a phone call, and somebody would say, "Hey, Kevin, what did you mean when you said?" And you'd have to go back and you'd think about it. And you'd say, "Well, you know, this, and this." And ultimately, they would always say, "Would you help me with mine? Can I pay you to help me with LinkedIn?" And that started kind of a side gig on LinkedIn for many, many years. I helped optimize profiles. I helped people understand how to socially sell. Consultative selling is what we kind of called it back then, and building the relationships. And that ultimately developed into an opportunity to really start my own company, which was TNT Brand Strategist. I actually work with my wife. She's an incredible brand writer and has been for many years. And between the two, we write as a team, and we help people understand what it is that makes them unique, what makes them stand out, what that value add is, and then how do you present it so that others buy into it. They understand it, they see the value, and they want to do things with you. And so, whatever that end goal is, we try to bring that into that process. But that's really how the evolution, I guess, started on LinkedIn. And now, you know, it is there. Through my career, some by good fortune, some by force of my own process, and others by forces of evil, shall we say. I
Yeah.
pivoted in my career 5 times. So I went from this kind of national sales management in a Fortune 10 company. Went from there, went into venture capital as a kind of a VP, starting up startups and helping them grow. And then uh, that venture capital group decided to close down. The guy took his 600 million and
Walked away.
Bahamas, right? And so I went back out and I started doing corporate turnarounds and loved doing that. From there, from that kind of corporate turnaround thing, I said, you know what? I'm tired of doing these projects that you know have an end, right? That you know you're doing a corporate turnaround, they're paying you to come in and fix things, and I was always the guy who fixed things, but wanted to keep the people because the people weren't the problem. It was the business or the direction or
Yeah.
the product or the pricing, and so I always kept the people, and I did these turnarounds, but you knew they always would lead to thank you. You did a great job, Gabby, but you got to go. You know, I'm not doing that anymore. And I really kind of took a look. I was living in Nashville at that point, and I took a look, came back to Dallas, and turned around a division of the American Heart Association that was doing business internationally by accident.
Oh
And
wow.
so I went out there and built the corporate offices in Hong Kong, United Arab Emirates, Dubai, um, uh, Belgium, Puerto Rico, basically to service everything out of the 50 United States. And hired people and hired also print facilities and warehouses in different locations so we wouldn't impact their tax issues here in the US. Built that whole thing, was traveling probably 80% of my month.
Wow.
So I was home one weekend and usually on the wrong side of the clock.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love what I'm doing, but I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But what has been interesting is ever since I've been on LinkedIn, each one of those pivots has been directly related to a relationship that I built through LinkedIn.
Ooh. And then
Every single one of them. And the other component of that is when I was working for a company, I was making those connections for the company, doing business for the company, and bringing in millions of dollars off LinkedIn. You know, they don't
yeah.
give me a percentage of that or anything, but that was. But you're building that because of those relationships, right? And the one thing that I knew how to do, and I always stayed very close to as many people inside LinkedIn. I always call them insiders, right?
Yeah.
that I could talk with them. Normally, if they're working on something and you got it kind of right, they'd stop talking. And that's when you knew that's when you knew you had the right answer, right? When they said, I can't talk to you anymore, you're like,
Yes.
aha.
I
You know,
found
boast
it.
about that, like, don't you dare.
Yes.
But that's how it kind of evolved. And that became a big core of what I was building relationships with. So people know that, I will find things on LinkedIn, sometimes discover them before they're released, sometimes as they're being released, but I take a different approach in looking at those features because LinkedIn's a beautiful place.
Yes.
People think of it like it's a social good website, right?
Yeah.
They're there for the value of everybody. Well, that's kind of a side effect. They're a business, right? They're there to make what is it, $17 billion a year? That's a business, right?
Yes.
And the model of LinkedIn is all based on this kind of 6 degrees of separation, right? Within
Right.
6 handshakes, you can meet anybody in the world. That's why LinkedIn cuts you off at 3.
Yeah.
So they can charge you for the other 3, right? Or the other 3 have to pay to get you. That is the complete business model. But if you look at everything on LinkedIn in the sense of how does it impact the dollars
Yeah.
of LinkedIn, then you can actually describe almost every feature and what it's going to do for you. Maybe what you think it might do might not be what it's actually going to do. And what is it going to do for the business?
Right.
So things like on profiles, they put this little basically take your gap time, right?
Yeah.
It was an option. And so people who were unemployed said, well, I'll put that gap in there and it will make my profile a pro profile, right? I'll have everything done and therefore everybody will be able to find me. What was actually the opposite? What LinkedIn was trying to do was purify the data that it was selling to recruiters because recruiters want employed.
Right.
And so by putting that little box in there and getting your complete profile, you were actually telling the database, I'm unemployed, as opposed to what other people were doing. And that was leave the end date open on their last job. And they weren't there anymore. Or they would create their own business page, right? Hold the space. All those techniques were great. But when a recruiter then found out that they weren't employed, the recruiter came back to LinkedIn and said, this isn't really good data.
Yeah.
Because this is what I want. So looking at LinkedIn in that sense of how does it function as a database, as a business, and what are these things really doing? And that's what I love to do. So
Yeah, I love
part
that.
of what I share.
Hey, and look, this is where, again, this is the magic of what we're talking about here and what the platform is, right? It's the way that people can actually, again, the levels of connections and the way that we have to, the way that it's structured. Again, people come here for the opportunity to find most of the time still, and it's still the misnomer of, again, of this is just the CV place, the resume place, the place to come just look for jobs like it's indeed.com, when it's actually something a little bit more. And
And we're what makes it more.
yes, we
The
exactly.
members, and
And that,
not the platform.
yes.
It is what members decide to do on it. And I like to say, not all of us are good members.
Yeah, there
Some of
are.
us are bad members, and
Well,
they decide to do bad things.
good.
Our job is to promote the good, right?
Yes.
And make sure there's room for everybody else who wants to be good, and that we try to get rid of the ones who don't want to play nicely. And
Right.
so,
That kind of leads into what my next question is. So, what is the worst thing a person can do, or an entrepreneur, solopreneur can do when they start coming on the platform and trying to brand? What are some of the things that you see that people make vital mistakes, that once it's created, it's hard to kind of turn back around, and yeah, you have to go through the idea of rebranding something.
well, and I think that's just it. People don't pay attention when they get onto LinkedIn. LinkedIn now makes it so easy that you can actually bring your resume, and LinkedIn will allow you to upload it to build your profile.
Yeah.
That's a feature, right? And so people do that and they're like, I'm done. That's all I got to do. Now I need to go out and start selling things, right? And I look at that as not the right approach. It's not branded. It's not focused on maybe what your goals should be within LinkedIn. And people are perceiving it as kind of a really mixed message. I call it personal blanding, right? It's where you just throw everything in there and go, that's my brand, right? Everybody's going to get it. And they're like, They don't. It is the what they call the Jack and Jill of all trades,
Yes.
right? Master of
They're-
none. Nobody wants a master of none, right? I mean, and there is a little length to the end of that phrase, and it says sometimes better than
yeah,
nothing or something to that effect. But
yes.
if you don't have a focused brand, if you don't know what that brand statement is, what your purpose is there, and you start going out and trying to create opportunities in business and relationships, people aren't going to get it. So you've got to make it your own. You've really got to start with it. I always look at the uh, LinkedIn profile is like a sales brochure, right? It's where you put your best stuff. You put the things that you want them to know about you that move you forward, right? Like
Yes.
a sales brochure would.
Yes.
And you're going to make it pretty, right? You're going to make it easy to look at. You're going to make it easy to read. You're going to make it interesting. All those things come into play. That's the sales brochure. What does a sales brochure do if it just sits on top of a cabinet in a sales room? Nothing, right? That's what your LinkedIn profile pretty much does. So what you got to do is you got to start your marketing, your advertising campaign. And to me, that is your engagement. That's those posts that you put out there, the comments that you put out there, everything else that you're doing, the lives, the LinkedIn audio, all those things are your advertising campaign to get people to fall in love with Gabe, right? And say, I want to know what he does,
Yes,
right? I
exactly.
want to buy from him because now I like him and I can't help myself,
Right.
right? That's what you want to do. And that's what people forget. And instead they push this thing together. Their personal branding is set and ready. And then they go out there and they start DMing people, asking them to connect immediately, what we call pitch slapping, right?
Yes.
As soon as you
I
connect, boom, here's all the things I can do for you.
so like Jillian's saying here, right here, pitch slapping on the first DM. Right.
Absolutely. And they just don't get relationships aren't that way. Now, I always look at LinkedIn is it's a microcosm of the real world, right?
Yes.
Good
Agreed.
example
Agreed.
here. Things that work on the outside world also work inside LinkedIn. Things that don't work on the outside world don't work in LinkedIn. If you go to a party and you're going, here's my business card. Hey, how are you doing? Can you want to buy this stuff from me? I don't even know you, but here you go. This is going to make the world of difference for you. I don't even know what you need, but it's going to solve your problems, right?
Yes.
Nobody's going to deal with you in the real world. You start doing that on LinkedIn, they won't either. People want to deal with people they know, like, and trust. The Go Giver, Bob Berg's book.
Bob Berg. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful statement, very simplified in that sense, but it's absolutely true. So you've got to become that individual on LinkedIn that people know, like, and trust.
Yes.
And
And
when you do that, opportunity comes to you.
isn't it again, folks? It's not magic, and it's not coincidence. Those things sort of coincide when you start doing those things. So, few questions and comments I want to get in here. First of all, Jillian's finishing off our the actual saying. So it's a jack of all trades, master of none, but sometimes better than a master of one. So. Thank you,
Yes.
Jillian, for sharing that. Raquel, you get pitch slapped daily. Trust me, I know, and I think LinkedIn's got a little bit better with it when it kind of has the messages that are sort of focused, and I think they kind of separate it now, so it's not so bad, but it still happens. So, and that kind of leads into one of the questions that I want to bring in about Mr. Dan Roth had to share. So he was asking, and this is not on you. He's just asking, how is it that LinkedIn is making these updates, but we still have women getting sent inappropriate pictures in their comments of a post that are not automatically getting removed? So, I guess if there's, and again, these are all issues that are very valid.
Mhm.
But we want to kind of address them, and I think there's certain things that we, again, as a LinkedIn community, can kind of also build and share our voice about, hey, we want this gone, or these sort of things. And I think it's just taking people to kind of say, hey, let's make this an issue. And usually when a whole group makes a thing a whole issue, then it's kind of just glows and says, hey, we need to take care of this. LinkedIn will look at it. But I want to hear your opinion, or
Well,
your sort of.
we are.
take
We
on
are
this.
absolutely kind of the shepherds of LinkedIn, right? We
Yes.
see bad things going on. We've got to report. We've got to delete. We've got to, make sure those individuals aren't harassing other people. Some people will say, you know what, it didn't really bother me, so I'm not going to do anything about it. But it's all the other people down the stream that it might really affect, that we should be responsible for when we see bad behavior. I look at, there's so many fake accounts out there that are doing nefarious things on LinkedIn. If you
Yes.
see one, report it, block it. Make sure the rest of your network isn't going to get kind of attacked by it. And often, believe it or not, they piggyback on our success. So if you go through comments and reactions within a post that's doing fairly well, you will actually spot fake profiles. If
Yes.
you're not kind of curating, right, the comments, then you're not really taking care of your network. And so you should go through there, and when you find them, you should report them, you should block them. The more you do that, the less likely they're going to do that around you, but the less likely in general they're going to do this if we all start doing it. So it's really important for us to do it. um, I do think that LinkedIn needs to step up. I
Yeah.
don't know if they're just not that good at AI yet, in basically going through the massive realms of comments that are going on right now and DMs and everything else.
Yes.
Um, they should be better at capturing keywords, phrases, contexts, right? They should be able to capture that. Pictures, I actually sent this was kind of humorous. It was right in the middle of 2020. LinkedIn, Ryan Let's go, had a great post,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the comments was by a lady that was completely naked in her picture,
Oh my God.
right? And she commented on his post, and I captured that and I sent it directly to him, and I said, "What's going on?" Right? And
Mm-hmm.
in there, she had a link, that was, come to this for,
Yeah.
basically some things that we really shouldn't say on a
Yeah.
professional website that we can't say in front of HR in the office. So
Right.
maybe not here. And what was surprising is he didn't even see it until I sent it. And
Wow.
then they put me on a project where actually they had me go after close to 4,500 fake profiles in searching these out. And I wrote up to them, how do you identify these? They're really easy to do.
Yeah.
So why can't they at this point write that AI to go out and hunt these things? I don't know.
And here's
So,
and here's a
you know,
wonderful, again, here's my friend Daniel Hall, who's actually found ways to actually pull like all these comments, pull in all of this information, all this data, right? And if he's got the capability to bring all this from a simple post, a simple live
yep.
stream, and all this information, and it pulls. I mean, it pulls everything. It pulls the comment time. It pulls who commented. It pulls the link to their profile. So if you can pull all this stuff in here using what he's created with his app called Peekaboo, I mean, it is one of those things where if we know the capabilities there, it's like
Yeah.
when is they're going to take the opportunity to start integrating these
Hmm.
things in here, because again we see it on other social platforms that have the ability to do this, um, and we
And I
are
don't think any of those social platforms are doing a great
they're
job.
not doing it great.
But this social platform, if it wants to be as professional as it says it wants to be, then this should be a critical item here. And I don't know why it isn't yet. I know that they are developing things to do this, and they're developing other kind of algorithms that chase down other things like pod behavior, right? They
Yes.
figured out the basis of pod behavior. When you join a pod, they send out an email and say, "Here's the five, you know, posts you should click on and comment on today," right? And they can see that it's a deep link. Well, at one point, LinkedIn said, "Okay, what we're going to do is we're just going to eliminate anybody who's deep linking, 5 times a day. We're going to close their profile down."
Ooh.
Made sense, right?
Yeah.
That was AI. That was their thinking. What ended up happening are really good people. Uh,
Oh.
one of them,
Wow.
you
Wow.
know, one that always comes to mind, Jeff Young, super,
Yes.
beautiful role model for LinkedIn. What he does is every day he opens up his tabs, right, that has everybody's content profile, and he would go to their profile, and then he would click on their latest posts, and he would comment, and he looked like he was a pod to the algorithm, and
Mm.
they shut him down. They threw him in jail, right?
Whew.
And let him hang. Basically, I reached into LinkedIn. A few other people reached into LinkedIn and said, "You can't do this to this guy because he's probably the nicest LinkedIn role model you've got out there. Respect him because he can go anywhere, right?"
Yeah.
And they solved it, but it was the fact that it even happened. So sometimes I think they're just not as good with the AI as they need to be, but they do need to make this a priority
Yeah.
because it does impact people. It hurts people. It makes the site even unattractive to me sometimes when I see some of the things that go on. And so, it should be important. The thing that we can do is make noise, right?
Right.
Write
Right.
about it, make sure
Yeah.
it's out there, make sure we're bringing in the right names. That's what tag and mentions for, right? Get them
Yeah.
in there, tag them, say this is going on today and I don't like it. Let me
Ex-
help you solve it, right? And so come up with solutions. How to identify when these things are in. Will they use these 5 words all the time, right? Or they do it this way? Really easy for us to help them and give them the guidance. But the key is to keep the noise up so that they're going to adjust for it. And I think that's, kind of, I guess, LinkedIn activism, right?
yes.
In a sense. So if it's important to us, we got to make sure they know that.
Yeah. So Monica, who's watching, makes a comment, and I love this. It says Twitch is coming out with great tools for brand safety for both text, pics, emotes, including using these in communities. So I love that at least that's on the forefront of some of these platforms. That's a real thing for people, and so that we don't have
Yeah.
incidences that happen where great individuals like Jeff Young get caught in the crosshairs
Yeah.
of what's being
And you
done.
think about it, what does LinkedIn love to do? If they see another platform that's doing something really, really well,
Yeah.
where did templates come from, right? I mean, some of the things that other platforms have been doing for years, and like they're already like, I'm embarrassed. Why aren't we doing that?
yes.
Maybe something like this, they'll say, wow, they can do it. What's wrong with our AI team?
There you
You know?
go. I mean,
So,
from stories to now audio events to all the things that we're trying to bring in that they're seeing work. I hope this is one of the things that happen. Excuse me. These are one of the things that I hope kind of happens to this platform and brings this into the forefront of how this platform is starting to integrate these sort of things, because it is, again, above all, not just the people here, but we do still have a sort of level of professionalism that we want to try to keep apart, because we do have multi-million-dollar companies that exist here. You see it. You still have CFOs, COOs, CEOs who still come here and get on the platform. So we still want to be able to keep that level of it, but we still,
mhm.
again, the capabilities are there. So if we can, hopefully, guys, LinkedIn, please, if you're listening, at least look into it. I think it's been a long stemming problem for a while, and um, I remember a few incidences myself of seeing this and going out and reporting it. Um, because you want to think about it, it's like, hey man, there are, like, I do bad things sometimes here on this platform, but there are certain, even me I have boundaries where I'm like, that is not cool, and I have to even say something. So if I'm saying something, that kind of tells you like how bad something or someone is doing here on the platform. So I want to keep that, again, where this is a platform where we can feel really inclusive, we can feel really great, we can feel like we can all come share along without having, um, I'm going to use this platform as it, but the Facebook aspect of how this is, what you can see, what it can actually become, what it can maturate into if you allow these things to continue to happen. So,
Yeah.
but I love it. It keeps it open here where we can still reach out and just openly network here on this platform, and people are still open to it. And when you start giving them reasons to be reserved about it, then all of a sudden it takes away one of the biggest advantages of why I love this platform.
Mhm.
I get to connect with people so much faster, and they're more open to allowing me to send a personalized message if I'm really interested in what they do or their content and everything else. without having them
You
feel
know,
like they have to put up a wall.
one of the things that I think is just incredible when you really figure this out is, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're running your own business, we're no longer now stuck to our backyard, right?
Hmm.
We're global. We
Yeah.
have clients and customers from all over the world, and people on the other side of the world are pulling into our network as well, into our areas. And what is amazing about that is anybody goes who says, "Oh, there's just not enough business out there. I can't be friendly with so and so because they do the same thing I do." That would only be true if you had 99% of the world as a customer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's plenty to share. So some of the people that do exactly what I do, we collaborate all the time and we build friendships. And there are times where I run into things and I said, you know what, that might be better if John Asperian does that with you. You know, take it over to him because that's who I'm going to suggest. I'm not going to do that as well as he might. And I
Right.
know people do that for me as well. And I think that on LinkedIn is incredible because I've never been on any other social platform where that went on. Everything else was kind of like, it's mine. Don't touch it. Don't go near it. You're in my territory, right? I peed on this.
Yeah.
Don't go there. It doesn't happen on LinkedIn. And I love that. And people who think they can do that very quickly find out it doesn't work.
Right.
Right? And so that to me is just incredible. And I hope more people learn that, you know, you can collaborate now and there's more business out there than you could ever take care of, you know, and so it just kind of creates a better environment all the way around.
Yes. So, and even then, I love what, um, when you mentioned John Spearing, so because he, again, I wish they would take the advice of individuals like him, because there are, again, features and things that we want to see on the platform, and like part of what he's done in building like his group, um, outside of the platform has been pretty incredible. So taking what he's gained in his knowledge and kind of applying that to what we can actually do on here on LinkedIn, because groups are a little bit tougher for those who
Yeah.
create here. It's not the same sort of traction that you would get. For an example, here goes back to this platform, a Facebook group, where
Yeah.
it's a little bit more active. It allows you to kind of bring in the people in your community to kind of help it grow a little bit more. So
Mhm.
what he's done is taken it off the platform and built that out. And I would wish that they would, because I hate to see it leave from outside of here
Yeah.
when it could be
Here's my
something that's so
theory
great.
on groups. Do you want to hear why groups don't work?
Why is that?
Because LinkedIn doesn't want them to. We talked about at the beginning. We talked about 6 degrees of separation,
Yes.
right? How do you
Yes.
charge for the other three if I can get in a group where all six are and I can communicate with them directly?
True.
We
Makes
have
sense
with
now.
the groups, we've stepped on the business model, and that's why groups have always been kind of waning. Features have been disappearing, right? They're harder to find
Yes.
because they circumvent the revenue stream.
Right.
And I hope that mindset changes, you know, in that sense. But, you know, again, that's a big chunk of that $17 billion is LinkedIn selling members to other members. I think it's now at close to 70% of the $17 billion involves that. So you throw groups in there, and now you've said, you know what, you don't have to buy those other three. You can join a group and you'll get there. And
Yeah.
that's why I think groups will never kind of get back to where they were on LinkedIn
Then.
unless LinkedIn just has a complete mindset change
Yeah.
and changes that, you know. And so I hope they do. I hope they start doing things like, you know, live inside a group or audio events
Oh
inside a group,
God.
those kind of
Yes.
things,
Yes.
um,
Yes. And yes.
because it would create such an attachment to LinkedIn. And I still think there's enough revenue there that we wouldn't take it all away from them, you know, in that sense. But I think that's the main reason that they don't really get promoted. They don't get extra features. They don't get extra attention. And I think they've probably been kind that they haven't just taken them away,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Because they know it's a community thing and they want to do community building. They're always caught up in this, you know, here's our business goals. Here's kind of what we'd like to be known for, right?
yes.
at the end of every quarter, the only thing that really counts is the business model, right? When they
Right.
go to the quarterlies, and I think that's a big piece of it. Um, and that also, and I'd love to mention this, LinkedIn has gone feature crazy in the last few years, right? The last 3 years. Before that, if you got 5 features a year, that was like, that's too much,
Yeah, you're
right?
like, wow.
Now, if you get 5 a week, it's not a problem. And it is. And this is my theory that LinkedIn, it has an owner, right? It's
Yes,
Microsoft.
Microsoft.
They have quarterly meetings. I believe there is a new LinkedIn feature KPI. And based on what I'm seeing coming out, they've got to produce somewhere between 15 to 20 new LinkedIn features every quarter to get to their KPI.
Wow.
Got to keep the boss happy,
Well, to
right?
give it.
And that's why
That's
it's
right.
like it's and it's funny when you get like 2 months of nothing, then you'll get 20 in that one last month of the quarter.
But yeah.
Because it's got to be on the PowerPoint, right? During the quarter, or heads will roll.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're into now. And I love it because I think it's fun. Now, I wish instead of it only being new LinkedIn features, they also had a KPI for fix the old ones that don't work.
Yeah, there you go.
That they should give them double points. That's a double new LinkedIn feature. If you can fix this, if you can make messaging work like messaging should, we'll give you double points.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. That should be one of the things. But I think it's like everything else. It's like the whole scene of being in the office and they just keep bringing you file after file after file, and it goes right on top of the other one and the next one.
Yeah.
So all you just do is grab the one on top and say, I got to work on this one, and
Stamp.
yeah, and it
That's
and it passes. Exactly. So let me go and do our shenanigans before we start wrapping up out of here, because we always ask shenanigans and I always have a little fun. This one I wanted to ask about is because you are part of a very wise sect of individuals that I love to call the bearded ones, like me and you. How do you keep that luxurious beard? Because you have a really good beard. I've seen others that I've had on the show. I'm not one of those where I'm like, oh, I don't keep it. What it looks very good. I love it. It looks, again, very
It's
lush.
fake.
It's
It's a stick on. No. You know, I do trim it often because it grows really fast. It's like the top here, it's just it goes. And so I trim it often, and the trim is what kind of keeps it right for me. But if it didn't grow as fast as it did, I don't think I could get away with that. So I'm always, and so it's
I love that
almost as
stuff.
much work as not having one. But
That-
I like it. It feels good. It feels right. So it's
Right,
gonna
I
stay.
feel you feel bare without it whenever you like decide I'm
Yeah.
going to go
How
without.
can you do this and
Yeah.
look like you're thinking?
Yeah. Well, here you go, Dan Roth. Yes, the only thing that is more of a letdown than me is the creator mode. Well, again, features, folks, and again, Joseph brings another one. The laugh emoji, was it such a great choice for LinkedIn? I don't know.
Absolutely.
It probably the debate is still out on that one, but hey, we do have it now. So
Do you
you know,
know why it took so long?
why is that?
They were worried that the laugh emoji would be used to bully people. Gabe, I'm laughing
Oh
at you,
my God.
not with you. And so that was always the corporate line is they're going to use that to bully people. And if you think about it, they've used the little purple, curious guy. They've used him in
Yeah.
kind of this way, right? Like
Yes.
if I don't like what you're saying, I'll put the purple guy on you,
Yep.
and it's a form of bullying. So they were kind of right in a lot of ways. Hopefully, it doesn't evolve that way with this one because I think
Yeah.
they've got the little purple guy for that now.
There you go. Good. So, folks, again, there are look. We love to talk deep here and go really deep. So there are deeper meanings to your emojis. So if you want to create content, go out there and write the deep meanings of what each emoji is, and then kind of compare and contrast them all. So there you go. We're giving you out free content ideas, folks. So we help you out here. That's what we do. So thank you so much, Kevin. I know it's been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate you coming on the show and all the wonderful people who have shown up in the comments. And thank you, Miss Brenda Miller, for showing up. we're about to walk out of here, but again, I want to thank you guys. Again, you are the lifeblood of what we do here. And of course, I want to pub our guests for tomorrow evening, guys. So please tune in tomorrow evening. Our wonderful guest will be none other than Miss Jillian Whitney. We're going to be talking about live video, live streaming, all the fun stuff that I really love to talk about. And we're going to talk about how she makes video easy peasy and again simplifies the process of video creation. So tune in tomorrow evening. We're going to have a great conversation as well. So thank you again, Kevin, for a wonderful conversation. And again, we'll have to do this more often. I really enjoy talking about this and getting people more apt to what's the know-how and what's going on here on the LinkedIn platform, because we all love it here. And thank you, Michelle. You can catch the replay, hashtag replay, guys. All the lives, you can go check out the hashtag UnFiltered live as well. This is where all the events are going to be showing up in there, and all the micro content stuff that we're writing there as well. So thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you. Sit tight, everybody else. We will be back tomorrow evening, 8:15 Eastern Standard Time, with our guest for the evening, Miss Jillian Whitney. Again, one more time, give it a round of applause for Mr. Kevin D. Turner this evening, guys. We appreciate him, and we appreciate you guys for being here and showing up here every single night, guys. You guys rock. And again, you are the lifeblood of what I continue to do here every single night. We got another one in the can, episode number 8. So only 92 more to go, guys. We're marking them off on the calendar, and they're passing faster and faster each and every single time. So until tomorrow evening, guys, you stay blessed, stay well, and be well, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. So goodbye, everybody.